Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. On today's show, Joely Rodriguez is back. Brian Cashman said some things. Scott Boras said some things. We'll go through all that stuff. Plus, 5 Yankees were nominated for the All-MLB team.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. This is Stacey Gotsoulias, and you are listening to or watching Locked On Yankees. Welcome. It is Thursday, November 11th. We have some things to discuss, but first, you can listen to us in Apple, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, Odyssey, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Yankees, and you can watch us on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, hello, how are you? I hope you're having a wonderful day. So there are some things to talk about. Yay! Thank you, GM Meetings, for giving us things to discuss. Thank you to Brian Cashman and Scott Boras for not exactly having diarrhea of the mouth, but thank you for giving us some statements that we can talk about. They're not all bad. Boras had some interesting things to say that kind of pissed people off. But it's Scott Boras, and of course, you know, he would piss people off. He's the most well-known agent in sports, really. Funny story. Went to Anaheim in 2004. I was a +1 on my friend's business trip. We were sitting in a dugout suite behind home plate watching the Angels take on the Tigers. Now, I think they've changed things around because I recently was watching footage from Anaheim, and the suite that used to be directly behind home plate, you would always see a guy standing there with his arms crossed. So if you've watched the Yankees play in Anaheim, you know what I'm talking about. That was Scott Boras because that was his firm's suite. And when I went to Anaheim in 2004, I went with my friend who was a media buyer, and we were sitting in K-Cal's suite. If you're from Southern California, you know what K-Cal is. And she thanked Scott Boras for A-Rod. She actually shook his hand and said, "Thank you for A-Rod." He's like, "Well, that wasn't all me, but you're welcome." You know, and I just stood there. I was like, "Yeah, thank you." And I didn't really say anything to him, but it was pretty funny because, you know, it's Scott Boras. Like, just, he's like a titan in this industry, which is why he pissed some people off when he said what he said. But we won't talk about that just yet because I want to talk about Yankee stuff. Joely Rodriguez, he's back. Now, the Yankees declined his option for $3 million, and now he's back for $1 million. Is that the correct number? Let's see. 2. Sorry. 1 year, $2 million, because they declined his $3 million option a few days ago, and then they agreed to terms with him on a 1 year, $2 million contract. He pitched 46 1/3 innings last season. He had a 22.7% strikeout rate, which is pretty good. And, you know, coming out of the bullpen, you want a guy whose strikeout rate is like that. He also pitched to a 3.43 FIP. That's fielding independent pitching. If you don't know what that is, I know what it is, but it's hard for me to explain. When I was writing for places like Baseball Prospectus, I knew those terms. FIP, I believe, is a Fangraphs thing, but I learned all that stuff and I understand them, but I don't understand them well enough to explain them to other people. So look up FIP. 343 is okay. It pretty much takes out everything that has nothing to do with the pitching, the fielding. You know what I mean? Like if a guy pitches and something happens behind him, it's all about his pitching, if that makes sense. So yeah, not bad. And not bad for the Yankees bringing him back. I know the Yankees bullpen, there's a lot of talk around the bullpen because, you know, the Yankees need to make some moves this offseason. They need a shortstop. They might need a catcher, maybe. And there are some guys in the bullpen who may be expendable. Say that again. Expendable. I don't know why my mouth decided to add an extra B to that word, but I don't know. It's not Monday, so we can't blame that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see what the Yankees do. Brian Cashman said a lot of stuff during the GM meetings about what the Yankees might be doing. He said that they're looking possibly, maybe, center field, which understandable because last season Aaron Hicks hurt his wrist, had to get surgery. Aaron Hicks, Luis Severino, those two contracts. Seems like they both just, as soon as they signed them, I mean, not that their health was great to begin with, and it was kind of questionable but that the Yankees would give them those deals, but it just seemed to get worse after those deals. And I don't blame Cashman for wanting to go after a center fielder. Now, I do agree with Andres Chavez of Pinstripe Alley. He wrote a piece saying that guys like Hicks, guys like Severino, Miguel Andujar would all benefit from playing winter ball. Yeah, I think so too. Plus, who knows with this lockout if it might happen, although all signs are pointing to yes. That's the phrase I'm looking for. Some stuff came out today about that. Something about ownership trying to make it. I'm gonna look up the tweet right now because I want to get this right, because when I saw it, my first thought was there might not even be a lockout. It might be a strike, because I don't think the players would go for this at all. And I'm going to pull it up on my phone so I can read it to you, because my first reaction, MLB's proposal to players would see salary arbitration replaced with an algorithm that would determine salaries for pre-free agency players per source. Sounds like the idea will be met with resistance from the Players Association. Yes, I don't think you want to see guys' salaries determined by an algorithm. And that could be really messy. I don't know what they're thinking, but all right, so far, talks between MLB and MLBPA have largely been about economic issues, revenue sharing, free agency, arbitration, normal stuff. Some discussion of on-field changes, but no formal proposal from MLB yet, per source. This is Ben Nicholson-Smith who tweeted this. He said he also heard next negotiating meeting between MLB and MLBPA is scheduled for Monday, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. That doesn't seem good to me at all. They're always trying to screw guys out of money. You know, front offices and ownership screw guys out of money by messing with their playing time. And, you know, you saw it with Chris Bryant when he first came up. Service time manipulation. There you go. My brain finally started working. And God, they'll do anything to save money. And these guys have so much money and they're just not willing to spend it. It's ridiculous. Unbelievable. I'd be willing to bet that the season's not starting on time in 2022, just from what I read just now. No, it's going to be bad. You know where you can bet? Bet Online. It's back and better than ever, with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON. And you'll receive that bonus from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. My brain just stopped working. What happened there? It's not Monday, it's Thursday. What is going on? You know what's going on? I'm not getting enough sleep. That's what's going on. I don't know if it's the time change, if you're all feeling the same way that I'm feeling, but I haven't slept well in a month and it's finally catching up with me. So yeah. Now, Brian Cashman said a lot of things to a lot of people this week, but he said that Aaron Boone made the decision to move Gleyber Torres to second base. He basically was like, we need to do this, and we're going to do it. And Brian Cashman said, no problem. Why it took them until mid-September to make this decision is beyond me. It was clear that Gleyber Torres was not comfortable being the Yankees shortstop most of 2021, and the fact that it took them until September to make this decision boggles my mind. Now, he didn't have the most errors by a shortstop in baseball in 2021. He made 18 at shortstop. He was third in the AL, behind 24 by Bo Bichette and 19 by Isaiah Kiner Falefa of Texas. So he was moved to second base on September 13th, with only 3 weeks left in the regular season. This season, Torres hit .259 with 9 home runs. He drove in 51 runs, which was up from his .243, 3 home runs, 16 runs batted in during 2020. Obviously, that was a lot shorter than 2021, but way down from his .278, 38 homer, 90 RBI performance from 2019, which is when he made the All-Star team for the second year in a row. Cashman said that they're in the market for a shortstop. People are reporting that Correa and Seager are at the top of the list. Actually, Cashman said something about Correa today, about the fan base and Correa and the cheating and all that other good stuff. Let me bring that up just to be, I don't want to put words in Mr. Cashman's mouth, and I want to make sure I got it right. Although Twitter is acting very strange, and I don't know if anyone's noticing this, but when you hit latest, it's not giving you the latest. When you're trying to look for a tweet, Brian Cashman he's basically saying also, and I forgot to mention this, that he has permission to spend money this offseason. He had permission to spend money the offseason they got Garrett Cole. So, Carlos Correa might not be the only guy. Corey Seager might not be the only guy if, that one doesn't work out and they get the other. But one of those two might be coming to the Yankees. I'm not going to bet on this because you never know what's going to happen. But I think I would prefer Correa. What do you all think? Let me know. I think I would prefer Correa. Both guys have injury issues, but I don't know. Something about Correa in the Bronx. I think he could be really good with the Yankees. And I think that, yeah, I think that would work. And I know the whole past with the cheating and all the other stuff with the Astros could be an issue, but yeah, I don't know. And then speaking of former or soon to be former Astros, Justin Verlander, Abby and I discussed this the other day. He has until November 17th to figure out what he wants to do. Again, he's coming off Tommy John. He had 15 to 20 teams watching him work out. He hit up to 97. He's also 38, has a lot of mileage on his arm. And again, coming back from Tommy John surgery. So that's always a scary thing. But unfortunately, he seems like the kind of guy the Yankees would go after, even though what happened with Kluber this past season should scare them off a bit with Verlander, because, again, that's a lot of mileage on that arm. And Tommy John is a tricky thing to come back from, and coming back from it at 38, I don't know. I don't know if the Yankees should do that. It could be an interesting thing, though, to see Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, Jameson Taillon, a healthy Luis Severino. If you're not watching me on YouTube, I just did air quotes there. That could be quite a rotation. I said it on Tuesday's show that, Taillon kind of hit a wall. He was coming back from Tommy John surgery, and He hadn't pitched since 2019. And, it's hard coming back from surgery and from not pitching for over a year or pitching at the same level that you were pitching before surgery. And it's understandable that he hit the wall. Now, the same thing could happen with Verlander for whoever signs him. He could start out okay and then somewhere in the middle of the season kind of just hit a wall because he hasn't pitched for so long. But he's also 38 years old, a veteran. He kind of knows what he's doing. And am I talking myself into wanting the Yankees to sign Justin Verlander? I don't even really like Justin Verlander. What is happening here? No, I'm not convincing myself. Nope. No, it's not happening. No, I am not going to do that. So more stuff from Brian Cashman. He praised Garrett Cole, and he said he was fantastic for us this year, despite obvious injuries and some changes in the game, obviously alluding to the spider tack ban and alluding to the hamstring. Cashman said he's never going to say the hamstring bothered him once he kept going again. He's never going to say he was tired, but I think all of that's possible. It is possible because Scott Boras said that it was possible, that it's obvious that Garrett Cole's hamstring was bothering him down the stretch, because a lot of people like to say, well, he didn't do that well after the spider tack was taken away. He threw that complete game against Houston well after the spider tack and sticky stuff ban. The hamstrung him. I had to. I'm sorry. Anyway. Now, what else did Brian Cashman say? The Yankees will have contract talks with the agent for Aaron Judge. He is eligible for free agency after next season. Judge is eligible for salary arbitration after making $10,175,000, and the Yankees could try to negotiate a multi-year deal with him. They're going to sign him. They're not going to let Aaron Judge go. That would be... Could you imagine? New York might blow up. Yankee fans might actually show up to Yankee Stadium with actual pitchforks and torches because no, they're not going to, no. Aaron Judge isn't going anywhere. If anything, Aaron Judge might become the next captain of the Yankees. I don't see him going anywhere. I don't see the Yankees letting him go. That would be absolutely ridiculous. Plus, they have the judges' chambers, Yankee Stadium. They can't not have Aaron Judge there. And finally, Clint Frazier. They're saying that his issues are vertigo. I have vertigo. Vertigo is not fun. It's brutal. And when you have a spell, it sometimes can last. You might have a day where you're not feeling well, but you can also have a spell that lasts a week, depending on your stress level, depending on what's going on in your life. I had a really bad vertigo spell when my dad first went into the hospital 7 years ago, and I ended up not being able to go to the hospital to see him for a few days because I literally couldn't get up without falling over. Vertigo is just, it's brutal when you have it, and I feel bad for Clint Frazier. I'm wondering if his vertigo came about from the head injury. It's possible, or it could have exacerbated something that he already had. But yeah, vertigo, not fun. Now, Cashman wouldn't detail any new information on the diagnosis for Frazier, and he said that Frazier could speak to it at some point whenever he's comfortable doing so. And Frazier had said back on October 11th, and I believe I said this on the show, I'd love to have the opportunity to talk about this situation publicly and probably plan to do so soon. So that was a month ago. My issues have been very personal to me and something I've wanted to handle privately, but there's been a lot of inaccurate things reported about my injury that I'll clear up. So again, that was a month ago. So we're still waiting on Clint Frazier to clear things up. But if it is vertigo, yeah, that's not a good thing for him. I feel bad for him. Now, Scott Boras had some things to say. Now, he's basically baseball's most influential agent. You don't really know a lot of other baseball agents. Like, I knew Casey Close because he was Derek Jeter's agent, but you don't know most of these people. Rachel Luba, is it Luba or Luba? Luba. I'm assuming it's Luba. Trevor Bauer's agent. I only know her from social media. But a lot of times you don't know who these people are behind the scenes. You just hear about so-and-so's agent. It's not really like a well-known thing. But Scott Boras has been famous for years because obviously he's dealt with some of the biggest athletes and biggest contracts in Major League Baseball history. So he had some interesting things to say about the Braves winning the World Series. He said this yesterday. This is the Easter Bunny delivering rotten eggs. Every team says, I need to do this because it's my only option, knowing I can't reach a divisional crest. I can't get in the playoffs. So he said, we've seen the championship in 60 days. The rule allows them to be a less than 500 team at August 1st and add 5 players from teams that no longer wanted to compete, and for very little cost change. And it changed the entirety of their team and their season. He said, and we saw this unfold to the detriment of teams that create at vast expense, planning, and intellect and won over 100 games. In doing all this, we now have created an understanding that a fan would not know who the true team is until, frankly, the trading deadline. Okay. I sort of agree with him, but a few things had to happen for Atlanta to do as well as they did. Yes, they got players in the trade deadline. Yes, they weren't playing that well. But it also helped that the Mets collapsed. Because the Mets collapse happened right after the trade deadline. And it wasn't just because they were playing Atlanta all the time. They just really just fell off. But it is interesting that a team could do what Atlanta did and not play that well for the majority of the season and then have such a great second half of the second half and roll through the playoffs and beat teams that have won 100 games or more than 100 games in the Dodgers case and win the World Series. So yeah, I don't think I don't think his point is that Atlanta was tanking, because I don't think they were tanking. They wanted to do well. They just weren't. So they decided, we're going to go all out and get people because we can at the trade deadline. I mean, it's not like they didn't lose Ronald Acuna Jr. to an injury, and it's not like they didn't lose Mike Soroka, and who else? They lost someone else too. So they lost major players here and needed to replace them or needed to bolster the lineup, and that's what they did. I think Boras has a problem with the other teams helping teams like Atlanta and purposely doing badly in order to get prospects from other teams that are in the hunt. I think that might be more of his problem, because I don't think he believes Atlanta was tanking. I don't know. Just, it's, yeah, I don't know. I guess he, well, I don't really like that either, though. You know, the whole Houston Astros thing. They tanked for a while. They were bad for a while, and then were able to build up the team, cheat to win their only World Series that they've won in the last 5 years, And it feels like other teams want to try and do the same thing. It also feels like other teams, like the Pirates and Baltimore, are trying to emulate the Rays, but they don't have the same personnel to do it. Not everyone can be the Rays. I don't know where they're finding these guys, but they keep finding guys that don't cost a lot, who play really well and help them win 100 games a year and get into the playoffs. You know, they might not be winning World Series, but the Rays are doing a lot better now than they did years ago when they were the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and, you know, giving up 13-run innings to the Yankees twice in a season. And there are other teams and other owners who, I don't know, it feels like they're trying to emulate the Rays. Like, oh, you know, maybe we don't have to pay a bunch of guys to do things and we'll just try to do what they're doing. But you can't if you don't have the same kind of players. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in baseball. A lot of changes going on in baseball. You know, teams aren't being run the way they used to be run. We were talking about this on Tuesday with how pitching isn't the same. But again, who knows if that's a trend yet? We'll get to find that out. But I don't know. I think it's okay that Atlanta won the way they won. Not every team has to be good wire to wire. And, Brian Cashman has said the playoffs are a crapshoot. And it's true. Because you'll see teams like the Dodgers and the Giants who win 105, 106 games, sometimes get knocked out by the team that only won 90 games. But because the team that won 90 games was fighting for their playoff lives down the stretch in September, and they're still kind of in that mode, they tend to do better in the playoffs. I don't know. That's been happening for a while. That's why you see wildcard teams winning the World Series sometimes. So I don't know. I don't feel like he should have called out Atlanta the way he did. I think he should be calling out other teams for purposely tanking and being horrible for years and torturing their fans by not winning. I mean, would you want to be a Pirates fan? No offense to my Pirates fan friends and my fellow Locked On host, but it must be torture being a fan of a team where you have some good players, but then your team is always trading guys away and trying to keep payroll down. What are you doing? That's not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be trying to win. Every team should be trying to win. Not just the Yankees, not just the Dodgers, not just the Red Sox. Every team should be trying to spend money and trying to win. And that's just not how baseball is right now. Dear God, did I just actually wait? Now am I agreeing with Scott Boras? No, not totally. Because again, Atlanta wasn't purposely tanking. They had some stuff happen to them in the first half of the season and things weren't going right. And then things picked up. And yes, they decided, we're going to buy. We're not selling. And I know some people were thinking, why are you buying? You're not going to do anything. Who had the last laugh? The Atlanta Braves. See how that happens? Anyway, tomorrow, Abby will be back with me. We're going to be talking about who the Yankees should go for. Again, I'm thinking Correa. You all let me know what you think. If you would prefer Correa or Seager. Tweet at me, Stay Scotts, STACEGOTS, if you're not watching me on YouTube, and let me know who you would prefer, Corey Seager or Carlos Correa. I'm thinking Correa. As much as I don't like the Astros and as much as I like to rip on them, I think he'd be really great in the Bronx. I really do. Yeah. So Abby and I will talk about that and more on tomorrow's show. But that's it for this episode of Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'd like to remind you that you can listen to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Odyssey, Spotify, Stitcher, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to us on YouTube. And when you get into your car, you can tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Bets. Now you can make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. One more thing, if you could be so kind, please rate this podcast and spread the word about this podcast to your fellow Yankee fans. We would really appreciate it. Enjoy your Thursday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.